What is up, Pitt fans? Thank you so much for tuning in to Inside the Panthers on YouTube. My name is Stephen Thompson, coming at you with another Inside Pitt practice report. And I promise all the screen I'm wearing right now is not for the Fighting Irish. It's for the Celtics. Start of the NBA season is here. I'm very fired up about that. But we do have a game to talk about. It is Notre Dame week. The Panthers have a huge matchup this weekend. I'll be in South Bend to deliver you some live coverage from it. But the Panthers have some stuff that they need to improve on. Some stuff that's been ailing them all season. That they've really need to make some strides in, and we're going to dive right into it. Talk about some of the ways that they are hoping to improve and have been improving. And I think going to start up front this week. We'll get into the numbers a little bit later, but Notre Dame's got a great rushing offense. They really lean on it. Audric Estime is one of the best in the country. But it has not been pretty for the Pitt run defense so far this season. Both the eye test and the numbers, I think, will tell you that. They're sixth in the ACC and 71st nationally in rushing yards per game. They allow just over 150 per contest. They're averaging 3.4 yards per carry allowed against FBS opponents. That's 32nd best in the country. That doesn't sound very bad when you hear it, but when you look back through the archives and see that they were 14th nationally last year, third the year before that, fourth the year before that, seventh the year before that. In fact, they haven't finished a season ranked outside of the top 15 in 5 years in terms of yards per carry against FBS opponents. Four of their six FBS opponents have rushed for more than 150 yards on Pitt. It's not good, and it's not up to the standard that this program has for itself, and that these defenses that Pat Narduzzi has crafted have for themselves. Excuse me. Uh, you know, but I think, as we talk to players and coaches this week, the Panthers feel like they have a better handle on what's been going wrong and how they can kind of fix some of these issues. And talking to defensive line coach Charlie Partridge, he told us, I'm pretty pleased with how they've stepped up in the middle and how they've stood against runs coming straight up the gut. But it's those outside rushes, getting around the edges, that has really given them trouble. Certainly, missing Bengali Kamara at outside linebacker is no small part of that. He was a huge part of what they want to do on the outside, and his athleticism and his aggression is really huge to making sure that the Panthers stay on track in that area. So losing him for a couple games, not good. The kind of relatively slow start that Dayon Hayes has gotten off to, mixed with the kind of rotating cast of characters at the other defensive end spot between Nate Temple and Bam Bremo, who've been kind of hit or miss this season. That doesn't help either. But Shane Simons also mentioned to us that that the linebackers can help too, that they can be more aggressive, making plays downhill, and that'll help them, which kind of makes sense when you think about it. This is a defense that really relies on splash plays. So opposing offenses behind the sticks and, not allowing them to get really comfortable and get into a rhythm allows them to not just, stop the run, but also kind of create some turnovers off of that, get them into tough passing situations where the secondary can really take advantage. And those pass rushers can really pin their ears back and get after quarterbacks. It's super crucial that this team stops the run. It's something like Simon said, where you kind of got to do your work early. The same way that a offense will try to establish the run. It's on the defense to establish that you can't run on us, that you won't be able to do that, that we will stop this, and that we are going to make you one dimensional. So I'd look for this to be a factor real early, and for Pitt to kind of send a message early, but then also Notre Dame to send a message early. I mean, this is a team that averages 160 plus yards per game on the ground. Like I said, led by Estime, who's rushed for nearly 800 yards and 9 touchdowns through, I think, just 8 games. Yeah, 60. They're 6-2, so 8 games for that Notre Dame offense. And the thing is, I think Pitt could improve in this. Against the run, they could get better. Technique wise, and the eye test might tell you something different, but against this offensive line and these tight ends that can really block, and then a powerful running back like Estime, it's entirely possible that we don't see improvements immediately, and that even if they do get better, the numbers might not reflect that. I still think you can have some faith that Pitt at least knows what's going on. They have a good beat on the issues, and they are moving in the right direction with this. Another big facet of the Panthers game that I think has improved since week 1, week 2 is the quarterback play. Quite honestly, we've talked about this a little bit, but I think Christian Veilleux's gotten better with each appearance that he's made, and it's pretty too easy to identify where. The numbers tell a pretty clear story. He was abysmal in that second half against North Carolina. 2 picks, roughly just 80 yards, I think under 90, and then another turnover on top of those 2 picks, fumbling a handoff. He did not complete. I believe he was under 40% of his pass completion rate for that game. It was bad, and you understand why. It was an emergency spot start and getting thrown right into the fire without ever really getting a chance to command this offense. I never taken a, had never started before in his collegiate career, so you can kind of forgive some of those mistakes, but they needed to get better against Louisville, and they really did. Next time out against Louisville, he eliminates turnovers completely. That's huge on its own, but then he starts to find some success in the deep balls too. He was hit on those big plays to Kanate Mumfield and Bub Means for touchdowns. That was, he took advantage of a advantageous, situation created by his defense, which forced 3 turnovers. But he was good too, and he did his part. That said, he struggled with accuracy a little bit, especially in short and intermediate throws. Those deep balls were nice, but he was still completing under 50% of his passes. So what does he do next time out against Wake Forest? Completes more than 60% of his passes for the first time since his first appearance against Rutgers at Penn State. He took really good care of the ball again. He hit on both long and intermediate passes. He was really impressive in pressure situations, third downs, third and longs, when everyone knew he was going to throw the ball. And then obviously that final drive and that last touchdown pass to Bub Means that probably should have been the game winner if Pitt can hold on. There's more to do. I'm excited to see what kind of comes next because given this track record and given the chronological timeline of events that I just laid out for you, there should be another big improvement coming this week. There should be another thing that he adds to his game and that he improves on, that he gets a little sharper. I think it's going to be, kind of his overall command of the offense. I think that's his mastery is only going to improve and get a little bit better, and it'll kind of reflect in the way he's able to keep them on schedule. It won't just all be on, Sibo Flemister, Rodney Hammond to keep that offense on schedule. His next step is going to be kind of making the checks that put Pitt in good situations with their plays, even if they're simple plays, avoiding lost yardage. Like there were so many of those instances where they ran the ball on third or fourth and short and they weren't able to gain the yards. They either, got stuffed at the line or lost yards. And I think the moment that Veyer is able to check them out of bad run plays, recognize when Fitz are going to stop what they are doing and adjust around them, that's when something special can really start to unlock for this offense. And it's how you're going to avoid, situations like Wake Forest, where you go 8 drives without scoring a point in the middle of that game. And then, all the nonsense at the end of that game is obsolete. I want to touch on one more thing before I get out of here, and that's Jordan Bass, true freshman linebacker. Got thrown into a really tough situation, but I thought, made the most of it and talked to his coaches. He did as well. Solomon DeShields goes down on the opening kickoff per Pitt, but, Bass is able to step in, play some special teams, play 51 snaps, by far the most of his career as a true freshman. We've only seen about 4 defensive snaps against Louisville, but thrown into a really tough situation. He didn't have a ton of prep time. He's still learning the playbook. He's still kind of figuring out his place in college football, just as a college football player. Forget, trying to compete for a starting job at Pitt. He is very far down on the ladder and has a long way to go before he works his way up to, full-time starter. But, in an emergency situation without Braylon Lovelace and Kyle Lewis there to kind of, guys who had actually played before, made a start and gotten some reserve snaps, he was thrown straight into the fire. Showed some flashes of athleticism, some playmaking ability. There was a third down in the second quarter where he made, a tackle for loss to force a punt. And those were plays that, when we talked to Shane Simon and Charlie Partridge and even Pat Narduzzi, that's the stuff that stands out to them. That's the really impressive stuff. That's the stuff they are holding on to and latching on to as they move on to Notre Dame and think about what's next for this kid. There were some mistakes that kind of exposes youth. They're common with young players where he just maybe felt a little overwhelmed. Just maybe, like everyone in a new situation, just didn't know exactly what he was doing. But that's to be expected. And you talk to all of his coaches and teammates, they believe he has a super bright future, and they're really impressed with what he was able to do with limited preparation time. His coaches also said, Partridge also said that there was maybe a call or two or a play or two that they could have called differently or could have gone away from that would have made things a little bit easier on Bass. That's just on them as coaches, not necessarily on him. It's just, it was a rough situation, and so they had to make the most of it. And I think you can be really encouraged by that, and also look forward to maybe seeing a little bit more of this kid this week against Notre Dame. We have no idea if Braylon Lovelace, Kyle Lewis, Solomon Shields are if they're going to play this week. So uh, you know, who knows? You might see a lot more of Jordan Bass in the future. So just something to keep an eye on as we get ready for Notre Dame week. And with that, I'm headed out of here. Thanks for tuning into another Inside Pitt practice report. Stay tuned to the end of this week. Got one more report after we talk to Pat Narduzzi on Thursday. We'll get a little bit more insight on Notre Dame and his game plan for the Irish then. And then, obviously we got the Notre Dame game. I'll be there to deliver you live coverage, like I said, and I'll do a report from South Bend following the game. So make sure to like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube so you don't miss that stuff. That's youtube.com/at Inside the Panthers. And then follow all of our reporting at InsideThePanthers.com. I want to thank you all for tuning into another Inside Pitt practice report. And until next time,